A very good morning. It's just past 8 this July 25th morning and we're back again with Breakfast Show. I'm Anil Thomas. Over the next 1 hour, we'll take you through the major happenings across India and the globe from the field of politics, business and sports. Also our regular segments on health and Good News India story. Our top focus over the day, important bills for discussion in both houses of parliament. As we move to Europe, where Boris Johnson, the United Kingdom Prime Minister, overhauls his cabinet on day one in office. In sports, for the first time in 135 years, England registered an unwanted test record against Ireland. And live inputs from our correspondents on the day's top stories. But first up this Thursday morning, the headlines we are tracking at the top of this hour. Lok Sabha to take up Triple Talaq Bill and the National Medical Commission Bill 2019 for consideration and passage. Right to Information Amendment Bill and Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Amendment Bill will be taken up in the upper house for consideration and passing. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announces that there will be a museum for all former Prime Ministers of the country. Says a coterie of people created adverse images of greats like Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and created labels, narratives and titles for our former PMs. Releases a book on former Prime Minister Chandrasekhar. Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs approves creation of buffer stock of 40 lakh metric tons of sugar for a period of 1 year. Official amendments to the AADHAAR and Other Laws Amendment Bill 2019 gets cabinet nod. Merger of National Institute of Miners Health with ICMR, National Institute of Occupational Health, also approved. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh tells Lok Sabha that there is no question of a third-party mediation on Kashmir issue. Says Kashmir issue is a matter of national pride. In international news, Britain's new Prime Minister Boris Johnson begins unveiling his cabinet with announcement of some key posts. Priti Patel appointed Britain's first Indian origin Home Secretary. Dominic Raab appointed as Foreign Minister. In a major setback to the social media giant Facebook, United States imposes a record $5 billion fine and other restrictions on Facebook in privacy probe. And in sports, England bounced back after being bowled out by Ireland for 85 runs in the one-off test in Lord's. Hosts bowl out the Irish team for 207. 20 wickets fall on the opening day. In Japan Open Badminton, Indian shuttlers PV Sindhu and HS Prannoy play their second round matches today in Tokyo. Sindhu will take on Aya Ohiri, while Prannoy will face Rasmus Gemke of Denmark. Well, now for the stories in detail. Important legislative business in Parliament today. The Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Bill 2019 will be taken into consideration and passage in Lok Sabha. Union Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad will move the bill to protect the rights of married Muslim women and to prohibit divorce by announcing talaq by their husbands and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Also, the National Medical Commission Bill 2019 and the DNA Technology Use and Application Regulation Bill 2019 will be moved by the Union Health Minister for consideration and passing in the lower house. Bills for consideration and passing in the upper house includes the Right to Information Amendment Bill 2019 and the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Amendment Bill 2019. Earlier on Wednesday, Lok Sabha passed the Unlawful Activities Prevention Amendment Bill 2019, popularly known as the Anti-Terrorism Bill. The Act provides special procedures to deal with terrorist activities, among other things. The provision in the amended bill allows for terror suspects to also be designated. It also empowers the NIA to seize properties and conduct investigations. The House also passed Banning of Unregulated Deposit Schemes Bill 2019. In Rajya Sabha, the POXCO Amendment Bill was passed. The Act seeks to protect children from offenses such as sexual assault, harassment, and pornography. It provides for stricter punishment for culprits who commit sexual offenses against children, including rape. Simultaneously, there is a provision for jail and heavy penalties for child pornography as well. Well, for more inputs on that, on the stories from Parliament, joining us is Shailendra Mishra on the phone line. Shailendra, good morning. Shailendra, what's expected today, especially when it comes to, the triple talaq bill that comes up for, for discussion today in the lower house? Last time around it was introduced, it failed to cross the barrier. This time around, how is the government working towards getting it cleared?
ये देखिए, हम जानते हैं कि आज विधायी कामकाज के लिहाज से संसद के दोनों सदनों में अहम दिन है। सरकार 3 तलाक के खिलाफ जो विधेयक है वो आज चर्चा के लिए रखने वाली है लोकसभा में। अगर आप पिछली बार देखें, पिछली लोकसभा के दौरान लोकसभा से ये विधेयक पारित हुआ था, लेकिन राज्यसभा में ये विधेयक पारित नहीं हो पाया था। उसके बाद अध्यादेश लाना पड़ा था एक बार फिर। अब सरकार जरूर चाहेगी कि लोकसभा के बाद ये विधेयक जल्द से जल्द इसी सत्र के दौरान राज्यसभा में भी ले जाया जाए। और अब सरकार को जरूर उम्मीद है कि तमाम दलों का समर्थन इस विधेयक को राज्यसभा में मिलेगा, क्योंकि केंद्रीय मंत्री रविशंकर प्रसाद लगातार इस बात को कहते रहे। और जब ये बिल लोकसभा में पेश किया गया था कि महिला अधिकारों, महिला न्याय से जुड़ा ये विधेयक है, तो निश्चित तौर पर उम्मीद यही है और स्थिति भी यही है। लोकसभा में हम जानते हैं कि सरकार को कहीं कोई दिक्कत नहीं होने वाली है, प्रचंड बहुमत है। लिहाजा लोकसभा में से पारित होने के बाद राज्यसभा में भी सरकार को उम्मीद है कि इस विधेयक को इसी सत्र के दौरान पारित कराया जा सकेगा। हम जानते हैं कि लंबे चौड़े विधायी एजेंडे को देखते हुए संसद सत्र को बढ़ाने की तैयारी भी हो रही है। ऐसे में तमाम विधायी एजेंडों को आगे बढ़ाया जा सके और इसी सत्र में पूरा किया जा सके, उसको लेकर भी सरकार आगे बढ़ना चाहती है। तो निश्चित तौर पर आज अहम दिन, जब संसद के दोनों सदनों में अहम विधेयक चर्चा के लिए लाए जाने हैं। हम जानते हैं कि अगर राज्यसभा की बात करें तो आरटीआई संशोधन विधेयक जो लोकसभा से पारित हो चुका है, उसे सरकार आज चर्चा कराने के बाद पारित कराना चाहेगी। इसके लिए राज्यसभा में व्हिप भी जारी किया गया है बीजेपी सांसदों के लिए कि वो सदन में मौजूद रहे।
Okay, also looking at the Right to Information Amendment Bill 2019, that's come for that is going to be up for passing today in the upper house. How much of the government is confident of getting this bill passed in the upper house?
देखिए, सरकार की ये कोशिश होगी। लोकसभा में जब ये विधेयक लाया गया, उस पर स्पष्ट तौर पर सरकार ने कहा था कि आरटीआई जो कानून है उसमें एक तरह से उसको और मजबूत बनाने के लिए पारदर्शिता ज्यादा हो और आसानी से कोई आरटीआई के तहत जानकारी पा सके, इसलिए उस उद्देश्य के साथ इस संशोधन विधेयक को लाया गया है। लोकसभा इसे पारित कर चुकी है। राज्यसभा में जरूर इस बात को लेकर कुछ विपक्षी दलों ने मांग की कि इस विधेयक को संसदीय समिति को भेजा जाना चाहिए, लेकिन उम्मीद यही है कि आज सरकार जब चर्चा के दौरान जब ये बिल आएगा राज्यसभा में, तो सरकार की कोशिश यही होगी कि इस विधेयक को आज ही चर्चा के बाद पारित कराया जाए राज्यसभा में।
Okay, also there is a whip that has been, if a whip that has been issued to, all MPs there in the upper house. Give us a sense of the importance of the whip and in what regards has this whip been issued?
ये देखिए, हम जानते हैं कि आज 2 विधेयक चर्चा के बाद पारित कराए जाने हैं राज्यसभा में। आरटीआई संशोधन बिल और साथ ही साथ बैंक्रप्सी कोड से जुड़ा विधेयक है। लिहाजा इसकी वजह से बीजेपी सांसदों को व्हिप जारी कर सदन में मौजूद रहने को कहा गया है। और वैसे भी बीजेपी संसदीय दल की बैठक में स्पष्ट तौर पर सांसदों को ये निर्देश दिए गए थे कि संसद की कार्रवाई के दौरान वो सदन में मौजूद रहे, चूंकि विधायी एजेंडे पर सरकार तेजी से आगे बढ़ना चाहती है और हर दिन दोनों सदनों में अहम विधायी कामकाज को लेकर प्रगति हो रही है। तो ऐसे में जो पार्टी के सांसद हैं वो कार्रवाई के दौरान मौजूद रहे। तो निश्चित तौर पर आज चूंकि 2 विधेयक राज्यसभा में, जिसमें खासतौर पर आरटीआई संशोधन बिल बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, जिसे सरकार के एजेंडे में और उसे आज वो राज्यसभा में पारित कराना चाहती है, इसी वजह से बीजेपी सांसदों को ये निर्देश दिए गए हैं कि वो राज्यसभा में कार्रवाई के दौरान मौजूद है।
Okay, also a quick update on, this particular budget session of Parliament getting extended. We've been hearing unconfirmed reports, but is there something concrete on this particular session getting, extended for a week, maybe 10 days?
बिल्कुल, इस बात के स्पष्ट संकेत है और इसका जल्द ही ऐलान हो सकता है आज ही इस बात का औपचारिक तौर पर ऐलान किया जाए। ये संकेत मिल चुके हैं कि संसद का बजट सत्र बढ़ने जा रहा है और जो करीब करीब 20 से ज्यादा जो लंबित विधेयक हैं वो इसी सत्र के दौरान सरकार उन्हें पारित कराना चाहती है, और यही वजह है कि संसद सत्र की को आगे बढ़ाने की सिफारिश की जा रही है। इसका औपचारिक ऐलान उम्मीद यही है कि जल्द किया जाएगा, लेकिन ये तय है कि संसद का बजट सत्र अब आगे बढ़ने जा रहा है। 26 जुलाई के बाद भी कह सकते हैं कि विधायी कामकाज को पूरा करने के लिए संसद का सत्र आगे बढ़ाया जाएगा।
Okay, one final question, before, the defense minister has made it very clear that there is going to be, no question of mediation in Kashmir. Has that particular, story that the opposition tried to raise, has the bubble fizzled out?
आप ये कह सकते हैं कि इस मामले पर सरकार की तरफ से जवाब के बाद जो विधायी कामकाज उसे और आगे बढ़ाया गया, और बाकी जो महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दे संसद के दोनों सदनों में लिस्टेड थे उसे लिया गया था। तो निश्चित तौर पर यह कह सकते हैं कि फिलहाल जो संसद की कार्रवाई में जो लिस्टेड आगे के अहम विधायी कामकाज हैं या अहम मुद्दे हैं, उन पर आज आगे चर्चा होगी, अहम प्रस्तावलियां रखी जाएंगी। तो निश्चित तौर पर उम्मीद यही की जानी चाहिए कि जब सरकार की तरफ से इसको लेकर जवाब आ गया तो ऐसे में विपक्ष इस मुद्दे को अब आगे और नहीं खींचेगा, और हम जानते हैं कि ये स्पष्ट तौर पर सरकार की तरफ से इस पर जवाब दे दिया गया।
Okay, thank you and appreciate you joining us this morning on the phone line with those updates. There you have a busy day ahead. Take good care and get ready. Well, moving ahead, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday announced a museum for all former Prime Ministers of India and invited their families to share aspects of their lives. He was addressing the gathering after releasing a book on former Prime Minister Chandrasekhar in New Delhi. The Prime Minister said that the former Prime Minister was a man of culture and principle.
राजनीति के परिदृश्य में जीवन व्यतीत करने के विदाई के बाद 2 साल के बाद भी शायद जीवित रहना बहुत मुश्किल होता है। लोग भी भूल जाते हैं, साथी भी भूल जाते हैं, और शायद इतिहास के किन्हीं कोने में ऐसे व्यक्तित्व खो जाते हैं। इस बात को हमें दर्ज करना होगा कि उनकी विदाई के करीब 12 साल बाद आज भी चंद्रशेखर जी हमारे बीच में उसी रूप में जीवित हैं।
Well, Prime Minister Modi also said that a certain coterie of people have created adverse images of greats like Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. The same coterie destroyed the image of Morarji Bhai. They created labels, narratives and titles for our former Prime Ministers. He said his government was attempting to right this wrong. Prime Minister Modi stressed that no Prime Minister can be reduced to a political untouchable. This thought is the driving force behind the museum.
देश आजाद होने के बाद बाबा साहब आंबेडकर की छवि क्या बना दी गई, सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल की छवि क्या बना दी गई, ये तो कुछ समझते नहीं है, ये तो ढिकने हैं, फलाने हैं, वगैरह वगैरह। लाल बहादुर शास्त्री जी वे भी अगर जिंदा लौट करके आए होते और जीवित होते तो ये जमात उनको भी पता नहीं क्या क्या प्रकार के रूप में प्रदर्शित कर देती। उसके बाद फलाना प्रधानमंत्री क्या पीता है, मालूम होगा मोरारजी भाई के लिए यही चर्चा चला दी गई। फलाना प्रधानमंत्री मीटिंग में भी सोता है, फलाना प्रधानमंत्री तो बैकस्टैप करता है। यानी जितने भी हर एक को एक ऐसे टाइटल दे दिए गए ताकि उनका काम, उनकी पहचान दुनिया को हो ही नहीं।
Several key decisions were taken by the Union Cabinet in the cabinet meeting that took place on Wednesday. Some of the several key decisions that were taken by the Union Cabinet, including a major decision benefiting sugarcane farmers by approval of a 40 lakh metric ton sugar buffer stock worth 1,674 crore rupees, besides a green signal to amendment in AADHAAR and other laws act in order to enable the use of AADHAAR in state government schemes.
Providing huge relief to sugarcane farmers, the government has announced an increase in the sugar buffer stock to 40 lakh metric tons. Many a times there is a surplus of stock of sugar which goes to waste. And second, the lack of fair price remuneration due to low prices of sugar. Keeping this in mind, the government approved the creation of sugar buffer stocks from August 1st, 2019 to July 31st, 2020. Apart from this, the government has kept fair and remunerative price of sugar unchanged at 275 rupees per quintal for 2019-2020.
मोदी सरकार ने लागत मूल्य अधिक 50% ये दाम देने का फैसला किया, ऐतिहासिक, उसका स्वागत हुआ। अनेक फसलों का 24 फसलों का लगभग अब लाभकारी मूल्य किसान को मिलने लगा और इसीलिए कमीशन ऑन एग्रीकल्चर कॉस्ट एंड प्राइस CACP जो है वो भी उसी तरह से मूल्यांकन करते अपनी सिफारिश करती है और पिछले 10 साल की तरह 275 रुपए क्विंटल का भाव दाम ये गन्ना किसानों को मिलेगा।
Keeping its focus on benefiting the farmers, the government aims to give at least 150% of the cost borne by them. Apart from farmers, the government has also announced another major decision to give subsidy on the state schemes based on AADHAAR data under the AADHAAR and Other Laws Amendment Bill 2019.
आज 128 करोड़ लगभग आधार कार्ड हुए हैं और इसलिए आधार कार्ड का उपयोग स्टेट सब्सिडी बांटने के लिए भी होगा, तो फर्जीवाड़ा नहीं होगा और अनुचित लाभकारी को लाभ नहीं मिलेगा और जो सही लाभार्थी है उसको ही लाभ मिलेगा।
The government has also decided to dissolve the National Institute of Miners' Health and merge with the ICMR National Institute of Occupational Health. It has decided to sell off 481 acres of land belonging to the Fertilizers and Chemicals Travancore Limited owing to financial losses. The land will be sold to Kerala government. With Shailendra Mishra, DD News.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has asserted that there is no question of a third-party mediation on Kashmir. Speaking in the Lok Sabha, Rajnath Singh said that the issue of Kashmir is a matter of national pride for India. The Defence Minister added that External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar's statement in Parliament is the most authentic one on the issue. He said that the issue of Kashmir did not figure during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's meeting with the US President Donald Trump in Osaka in Japan last month.
हमारे विदेश मंत्री श्री जयशंकर प्रसाद जी ने स्टेटमेंट देते समय यह पूरी तरह से अध्यक्ष महोदय स्पष्ट कर दिया, कहा कि कश्मीर के मुद्दे पर राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप के साथ कोई बातचीत नहीं हुई है। मैं समझता हूं कि इससे ऑथेंटिक स्टेटमेंट और किसी दूसरे का नहीं हो सकता। इसलिए मैं सर्वाधिक ऑथेंटिक स्टेटमेंट से जयशंकर प्रसाद जी का मानता हूं, क्योंकि जिस समय मोदी जी और मिस्टर ट्रंप के बीच बातचीत हो रही थी तो स्वयं हमारे विदेश मंत्री श्री जयशंकर प्रसाद जी उसमें मौजूद थे। मैं यह भी स्पष्ट कर देना चाहता हूं, पाकिस्तान के साथ यदि बात होगी केवल कश्मीर पर बात नहीं होगी, पाक अधिकृत जम्मू कश्मीर पर भी बात होगी।
Well, a group of senior BJP leaders from Karnataka arrived in the national capital late last night to discuss the party's next move in the wake of the collapse of the JDS-Congress coalition government in the state. The leaders, including former Chief Minister Jagdish Shettar, J. Crew Madhuswamy, Arvind Limbawali and others are likely to meet the senior party leaders in the national capital. The BJP central leadership has not taken any decision on government formation in the state so far. Meanwhile, hectic efforts are on to form the government in Karnataka after the 14-month-old H.D. Kumaraswamy government collapsed. BJP state president and legislative party leader B.S. Yedurappa on Wednesday said he was awaiting instructions from his party central leadership on staking claim to form an alternative government in the state. Several BJP leaders expressed confidence of forming a government soon in the southern state. The flood scenario in several lower Assam districts worsened on Wednesday following heavy overnight rainfall. The Met Department has sounded an alert for heavy rain over the next 5 days. At present, 2,525,000 people have taken refuge in 933 relief camps. Locals in Sheshpani village of Bhoingia Gaon are shifting to safer places as their houses have been flooded following the heavy rainfall in the region. Army is also undertaking rescue operation in Baksa, Nalbari and Barpeta districts. Over 2,000 people have been evacuated. Authorities are working 24/7 to provide relief material to the affected people. At Kaziranga, however, floodwaters were receding. Although 205 animals have been killed so far, including 18 rhinos and 1 elephant. In Bihar, the situation has worsened in the past 2 days due to heavy rainfall. A total of 123 people have lost their lives in the floods till now. After a brief let-up, the state has been receiving above normal rainfall for the past couple of days. Indian Air Force has deployed 2 helicopters to provide relief to the flood-affected victims in Darbhanga, Sitamarhi and Madhubani districts. Food packets and relief material are already being airdropped in the affected areas. This effort would continue to increase in the coming days. In West Bengal, incessant rainfall has thrown life out of gear in North Bengal. Water levels in the rivers have risen dangerously, adding to the woes. Kuch Bihar and Tufangunj are among the districts on the state which have been affected with continuous rains and is now seeing flood-like situation. Over 20,000 villages are affected and 3,000 houses have been deluged in Kuch Bihar itself. As the roads are inundated, locals are using makeshift boats to travel from one part to another. NDRF teams are working round the clock to rescue the affected. Met Department has predicted heavy to very heavy rainfall today and tomorrow. In Maharashtra, intermittent rain spells of heavy showers were witnessed in several parts of Mumbai and its suburbs. The showers led to waterlogging and traffic woes in several areas and affecting train services on the central line. Streets in Bhiwandi city of Thane district were waterlogged following the heavy rainfall. Heavy waterlogging was also witnessed in Nalasopara city. Met Department predicted that heavy rains will continue to batter the city till today. Last few weeks, Mumbai witnessed very scant rainfall. Local train services running as normal. Vehicular traffic is normal and no waterlogging has been reported. There has been widespread intense rainfall activity in suburbs and around the areas in Mumbai. Suburban Thane, Navi Mumbai, Palghar areas, rainfall continue to cripple the city there, the maximum city. To get an update on what's happening there in Mumbai, joining us on the phone line is Shama Mishra, correspondent. Shama, what's the update for today? And it's early morning there, Thursday morning. How has Mumbai woken up? Have we seen rains, or has rain stopped in Mumbai?
Mumbai has today woken up to a cloudy sky, but yes, there is a relief from the rain that we saw yesterday. And day before yesterday, that was the entire night, we saw rains were heavy and continuous, and because of that, waterlogging in several areas, several low-lying areas, that had happened, causing all vehicular traffic and diversions. But today, the entire situation is normal, and the train services are also not affected. The stretch between Kurla to Sain, where the waterlogging incident had happened, the water has completely, been taken out from those tracks. And now the Central Railway services are also running on time. The Western Railway is running. Like we mentioned, there is no waterlogging, so there is no diversion, there is no vehicular traffic. But yes, in some parts there are slow-moving traffic, but that's moving, so that's not a big issue. Also, we are talking about Maharashtra, so Nandurbar, Thane, adjoining areas. These all areas are receiving good rainfall. However, the Met Department had said that these 2 days would be, Mumbai and adjoining areas has to be on alert. But we saw that after yesterday, there was no rain. And today, we are seeing a little intermittent, rain showers. And even if we see the IMD's forecast for tomorrow as well, there are few spells of showers with heavy downpour in some isolated places. So, yes, this is the pattern. when the rains, come to Mumbai, they're there the entire week, and it rains good, and sometimes it is very bad, so that it brings Mumbai city to maximum city to standstill. Otherwise, it is there till the entire week, and then the next week it totally disappears. So this is the pattern of Mumbai, and yes, so we are maybe enjoying and battling the rain woes at the same time.
Okay, you did make a mention about, yesterday we did see that, the visibility too was low in Mumbai. Is that, you spoke about it being cloudy, but is the visibility better in Mumbai today as compared to yesterday?
Yes, visibility is totally fine right now, because we have seen that when it rains, at that time, the visibility is totally hit and badly affected. And that is the reason why air traffic, or even the traffic, even the vehicles that are flying on the roads, they have a difficulty in driving or riding. And because of which we saw yesterday that at Andheri, 3 vehicles collided into each other because of low visibility, and 8 people, around people were injured. So today, even if it's cloudy, the visibility is not affected. Overall, we can say the situation in Mumbai has returned to normal.
Okay, also there was an IMD prediction about, heavy rains expected on Wednesday and Thursday. Is there an advisory that's been issued?
The advisory is for the, not going towards to the sea, to the fishermen. They have to be careful, and to the people who are, because the weekend is approaching, and as I mentioned earlier, that IMD has still, for tomorrow as well, the heavy downpour predictability is standing still, and that is the reason IMD would be looking out and has alerted Mumbai police that people going towards too close to the sea should be, that situation should be looked at, because all these areas, Marine Drive, Sea Face, and other beach areas, people tend to go and try to, swim in those water, and then causing all untoward incidents. So police is all at these areas and trying to tell people not to go too close to the sea when it's high tide. At that particular time, nobody is allowed even to stand on the promenade, or someone who's trying to get down to the stones, because it's the promenade first, then the stones, and then the sea starts in Marine Drive and the Worli Sea Face area. So yes, these all precautions have been taken. And as we know that the IMD had predicted, so everyone, since we saw what happened in the first week of July, everybody is on alert, and they are checking their schedules, checking their trains, flights, and everything before leaving the house.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you, and appreciate you joining us this morning with those updates there from Maximum City, Mumbai, and the state of Maharashtra. Moving ahead, in Odisha, a Naxal leader was killed on Wednesday in an exchange of fire between security forces and Naxals in Lanjigad police station limit in Kalahandi. Mao leader named Dikshit Saha from Indrabati Dalam was killed during a combing operation. After the exchange of fire, 6 to 7 Maoists managed to escape. The dead body of Dikshit Saha along with one 303 rifle and other materials were seized. Police combing operation is going on.
तारीख को हमारे जो बीजेपुर थाना एरिया में एक इनोसेंट सिविलियन को मारे थे, और कलाहंडी में भी बीएनपुर थाना एरिया में एक इनोसेंट सिविलियन को नक्सल 2 लोगों को मारा था। तो उनको पीछे करते हुए हमारी स्पेशल ऑपरेशन ग्रुप की टीम जो उनके रूट में जा रही थी, तो उसी समय उन्होंने हमारी टीम के ऊपर अटैक किया, गोली चलाया। तो हमारी एसओजी टीम ने उनको वार्निंग देते हुए फायरिंग किया। उस फायरिंग में एक नक्सल जो दीक्षिता आलिया सुरेश जो है नियामगिरी दलम का था और इंद्रावती दलम में भी था, वो मारा गया। उसके पास से एक 303 राइफल रिकवर हुआ और बाकी सामान भी रिकवर हुआ है। और उस एरिया में हमारा और भी ऑपरेशन चल रहा है, क्योंकि इस टीम में जो 7-8 लोग जो थे जो मारने आए थे, उन पूरी टीम को हमारी टीम चेज कर रही है। बाकी को भी हम चारों तरफ सराउंड कर रहे हैं कि हम बाकी को भी कवर कर सकें।
3 Naxals were arrested by police in a joint operation of CRPF and police in Jharkhand on Wednesday. Latehar SP Prashant Anand said that in a joint operation, the police and the CRPF arrested 3 Naxals in Latehar who were allegedly involved in Maoist activities in that area. AK-47 guns, hand grenade along with 25,000 rupees cash, mobile phones and a motorcycle were also seized from their possession. Investigation is underway.
और सीआरपीएफ की टीम ने संयुक्त रूप से अभियान चलाकर जिस क्षेत्र में उग्रवादी के द्वारा ये रखा गया था वहां से भारी मात्रा में इस गोली को और यूबीजीएल के राउंड्स को बरामद किया है। कुल 1548 राउंड 7.625 AK-47 का जिंदा कारतूस बरामद हुआ है। इसके अलावा 40 यूबीजीएल का HE ग्रेनेड से 25 चक्र ये बरामद हुआ है। इन लोगों के द्वारा जो प्रयोग में लाया जा रहा मोबाइल फोन था, मोटरसाइकिल था, ये सब बरामद हुआ है। 38,000 रुपये टोटल इनके पास से वो लेवी की राशि भी बरामद हुई है।
The number of pilgrims who paid obeisance at the Amarnath Cave Shrine in South Kashmir of Himalayas this year crossed the 3 lakh mark on Wednesday. On the 24th day of the ongoing Amarnath Yatra, over 7,700 pilgrims paid obeisance at the holy cave. This takes the total number of pilgrims that have had darshan of the Shivling this year to 3,01,818. Moving to international stories, Britain's new Prime Minister Boris Johnson began unveiling his top team with the announcement of some key posts on Wednesday evening. In a cabinet that was already being touted as the most diverse in British history, Priti Patel became the first Indian origin Home Secretary. She was among the most vocal critics of former Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit strategy. She replaces Pakistani-born Sajid Javid, who moved to the Treasury Department as the first ethnic minority Chancellor of the Exchequer. Sajid Javid, the former UK Home Secretary and a one-time Managing Director of Deutsche Bank, was named the Chancellor of the Exchequer by Prime Minister Boris Johnson and tasked with managing the economy through Brexit. In a team that is fairly Brexit-focused, Dominic Raab, who had resigned as the Brexit Secretary from Theresa May's cabinet, is back in the front line as the new Foreign Secretary. He replaces Jeremy Hunt, Johnson's opponent in the contest for Tory leadership. Liz Truss moves from second in command at the Treasury to head the Department in International Trade, while Stephen Buckley has been reappointed as Brexit Secretary. Some of the positions that remain unchanged from May's cabinet include Matt Hancock, who keeps hold of his post of Health Secretary. Johnson will address his first House of Commons session as the Prime Minister later today. Meanwhile, US regulators slapped a record $5 billion fine on Facebook for privacy violation. The Federal Trade Commission said the penalty was the largest ever imposed on any company for violating consumers' privacy and one of the largest penalties ever assessed by the US government for any violation. The FTC said that Facebook's data policy was deceptive to tens of millions of people who used Facebook's facial recognition tool and also violated its rules against deceptive practices when it did not disclose phone numbers collected to enable a security feature would be used for advertising. Under the settlement, Facebook's board will create an independent privacy committee that removes unfettered control by Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg over decisions affecting users' privacy. Facebook also agreed to exercise greater oversights over third-party apps. The remand of fugitive diamond merchant Nirav Modi, who is wanted in India in connection with the nearly $2 billion Punjab National Bank fraud and money laundering case, is to end in London today. The 48-year-old has been behind bars at the Wandsworth prison in southwest London since his arrest in March. Nirav Modi faces extradition to India as per the principal beneficiary of the fraudulent issuance of letters of undertaking as part of a conspiracy to defraud PNB and then laundering the proceeds of crime. He will be presented before the court on July 29 for the next case management hearing in the extradition process against him. North Korea fired at least 2 unidentified projectiles in the wee hours today from an area near Wonsan of North Korea's eastern coast into East Sea. This was the first launch of projectiles reported since US President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met at the demilitarized zone between the two Koreans at the end of June. North Korea's last weapons testing was in May, which included both short-range missile as well as smaller rockets. US and South Korean military exercises are scheduled for next month, about which North Korea warned could affect the planned resumption of denuclearization talks between Washington and Pyongyang. Sri Lanka's Easter attacks that killed 258 people were carried out by local Islamists who drew inspiration from but were not linked to the Islamic State group. Ravi Senavaratne, the head of the Criminal Investigation Department, said the suicide bombers who targeted 3 churches and 3 hotels had no direct link to the foreign jihadi group. Senavaratne told a parliamentary panel probing security and intelligence lapses leading to the April 21st bombings. He noted that the remnants of the local group identified as the National Tawhid Jamaat (NTJ) had persuaded IS to claim the attack 2 days after the deadly events in Sri Lanka. The NTJ had also used the same type of explosives that the IS was known to have used in its attacks. Sri Lankan police chief and the top defense ministry bureaucrat Hemashri Fernando are currently facing criminal charges over their alleged negligence to prevent an attack. Bombardment by the Syrian regime and its Russian ally killed nearly 20 civilians, including 5 children, on Wednesday. The strike was on Tel Hara, which has long been an outpost for Russian forces, but was later taken by Iranian-backed militants. The Syrian regime and Russia have stepped up their deadly raids on the Idlib region since late April, despite an international deal intended to prevent a full-scale offensive on the area of some 3 million people. Syria's war has killed more than 370,000 people and displaced millions since it started in 2011 with a brutal crackdown on anti-government protests. Sudan's military has said that it had arrested a top general and several others over a failed coup attempt announced earlier this month. The country's military, in a statement, said that General Hashim Abdel Mottalib, the head of Joint Chiefs of Staff, and a number of officers from the National Intelligence and the Security Service leaders from the Islamic movements and the National Congress Party were also arrested. On July 11th, the military announced it had foiled a coup attempt without specifying when it took place. At that time, it said 12 officers, including 5 who were retired, had been arrested, and the security forces were looking for the mastermind. On Wednesday, the military said those detained over the attempt coup were being questioned and would face trial. They stand accused of trying to help return the former National Congress Party regime to power, according to the military statement. In Brazil, at least 9 people were killed after heavy rains unleashed landslide and flooding in the northeastern state of Pernambuco. 6 people were also missing due to downpours. The flooding has forced some schools to close. The heavy rain, which began falling in the late hours on Tuesday, caused large floods, fallen trees and mudslides in several towns and disrupted the Recife's metropolitan area inhabited by some 4 million people. The Meteorological Services forecast that the rain is to continue for the next few days. On sports, in cricket, England suffered the indignity of being bowled out for 85 by Ireland before fighting back on a day when 20 wickets fell at the Lord's Cricket Ground. On the ground where they won the World Cup only 10 days ago, and with just over a week before the Ashes to begin, the long-standing deficiencies in England's batting were once again exposed. Middlesex seamer Tim Mudga, playing on his home ground, picked up 5 for 13 as England were bowled out before lunch after winning the toss and opting to bat. At one stage, the home side lost 6 wickets for 7 runs and gave up all 10 in a single session for the 4th time in 3 years. When Ireland reached 132 for 2, thanks mainly to 55 from Andy Balbreen, England were in danger of being out of the contest against an Ireland side playing only their 3rd test match. Ireland were finally bowled out for 207. On to badminton. Ace Indian shuttler PV Sindhu kicked off her Japan Open campaign with an emphatic note as she registered a comprehensive victory over China's Yu Hang in the first round of the tournament. The Olympic silver medalist needed just 37 minutes to beat Han in straight games, 21-9, 21-17 in the opening match on Wednesday. 5th-seeded Sindhu will next face Japan's Aya Hohiri, whom she had recently defeated at the Indonesian Open in the second round. However, there was disappointment for Kidambi Srikanth as he bowed out in the men's singles event after suffering a stunning defeat to compatriot HS Prannoy in the opening round. Prannoy defeated Srikanth in 3 games, 31-21, 21-11, 22-20 in a match that lasted for an hour. Prannoy will lock horns with Rasmus Kemke of Denmark Nest. Unseeded Samir Verma also crashed out of the tournament after suffering a 21-17, 21-12 defeat to Denmark's Andres Antonsen in his match. In men's doubles event, the Indian duo of Satwatik Sairaj Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty progressed to the next round after defeating Britain's Marcus Ellis and Chris Langridge 21-16, 21-17 in 43 minutes. In mixed doubles, Pranav Jerry Chopra and Sikhi Reddy also crashed out of the tournament after losing their opening match 11-21, 14-21 to Chinese pair of Zhen Shi Wei and Han Wang Kwang in less than 30 minutes. In women's doubles, Ashwini Punappa and Sikhi Reddy lost 16-21, 14-21 to South Korea's Kong Hee Yong and Kim Jong Yong to make an early exit. On Thursday, B. Sai Parneet, who shocked Japan's Kento Nishimoto in the opening round, will compete with Kanta Tsuneyama of Japan. In mixed doubles, Ashwini Punappa and Swatwik Sairaj Ranki Reddy will be competing against Thailand's Dekchapol Purvantrok and Shapshri Tatre Chai in the second round contest. Well, Argentinian captain Lionel Messi has been banned for 1 game and fined $1,500 US after being sent off against Chile in the Copa America third place playoff and leveling accusations of corruption at South America's soccer chief. Messi was shown the red card after clashing with Gary Medel and afterwards alleged that the tournament had been fixed in favor of host Brazil, who beat Argentina in a controversial semi-final on their way to claiming a title. Messi called the South American Football Confederation corrupt and did not attend the ceremony to pick up his medal. The ban is expected to be served in Argentina's first qualifier for the 2022 World Cup match. Well, after a look at sports, it's time now to take a look at the national dailies. Our first look is at Hindustan Times. In 100 days, 4,791 railway stations across India may get Wi-Fi. So some numbers there to look at. 4,791 more stations to cover less than 100 days. This is what the RailTel is on a mission to complete the work of providing Wi-Fi at railway stations across the Indian Railways network. In 2.5 years, RailTel has covered 1,606 stations, including Mumbai, Howrah, Patna, Shimla, Ranchi and Surat. So interesting numbers there, and the 100-day deadline that is there, 4,791 railway stations is what RailTel is planning to bring under the Wi-Fi scheme. Well, moving to our next story that comes from the Times of India, an interesting news or sweet news for diabetic patients. Mega diabetic drugs to be cheaper soon. The patent that one of the companies that used to provide an important drug for people suffering from diabetes is all likely to end in December. So generic companies will come into play. Dozens of companies are readying plans to launch their generic medicine. So that particular tablet that used to cost around 45 rupees daily, now with generic medicines coming there, would bring down the cost to rupees 10. So clearly sweet news for people suffering from diabetes with this diabetic drug price that is going to come down drastically. Well, our next look is a story from the Hindu. This comes about, you can travel in Goa now on water taxis. The government in Goa is likely to replace the old ferry boats and upgrade the ramps and jetties there. In a first, the Goa government is planning to ply water taxis in its inland waterways. This was announced by the Chief Minister in the Assembly on Wednesday, while tabling the performance budget of the River Navigation Department, or the R&D, for the financial year 2019-20. The Chief Minister said that ferry boats operating on solar power would be introduced on different routes and water taxis will be introduced for Panji to Old Goa route with the help of experts. So this is very much there. This is a part of that flagship program of the Ministry of Shipping, the Sagarmala project that aims to promote port-led development by exploiting India's 7,500 kilometer long coastline, 14,500 kilometer long of potentially navigable waterways and its strategic location on international maritime trade routes. Well, our next look is at the Indian Express, and it's a front page story on Dhoni's wife, who was the director of a 25% stake in the Amarpali Group firm. Even as Dhoni has maintained that he was merely a brand ambassador, filings made by the Delhi-based real estate company with the Registrar of Companies, when viewed alongside Tuesday's Supreme Court judgment, points to a more complex relationship between the former captain and that infrastructure company now indicted for fraud. Details for that have been given on how Dhoni's wife, Sakshi Singh, Dhoni was a director, and a 25% stake that was being, given to her in a group company that was called Amarpali Mahi Developers Private Limited. This particular findings are a part of the forensic audit on the Amarpali Group submitted to the Supreme Court that was revealed to be among the 47 Amarpali Group directors that allegedly received the home buyers fund diverted by the real estate group to its subsidiaries. So shocking story there, purely in terms of how that particular group functioned. Our final look at is at the story that we just talked about in sports, about the honeymoon for England, or the English team crashing down at Lord's 10 days before they won the Cricket World Cup, but Ireland were wrapping them up for just 85 runs, 20 wickets falling on the first day of that Lord's Test match, a one-off test against Ireland. Remember, England is getting ready to play the Ashes in a week's time. A fortnight from now, they're going to take on the mighty Aussies for a repeat of the Ashes. And this particular, getting bowled out for 85 is surely a wake-up call for the English team, that they need to get their act together and focus if they really think they are going to stake a claim for winning the Ashes. Well, after a look at all the national dailies, it's time now to take a jog down memory lane and look at all the major happenings that took place on this day in history. That's 25th of July.
On this day in 1875, Jim Corbett, a British Indian hunter and tracker turned conservationist, was born in Nainital, Uttarakhand. Due to his work as nature activist, the oldest national park of the country is named after him. On the same day in 1978, world's first IVF baby, Louis Brown, was born in Oldham City, England. On this day in 1984, Soviet cosmonaut Svetlana Savitskaya became the first woman to walk in space. On the same day in 2001, India's famed bandit queen turned parliamentarian Pulan Devi was shot dead outside of her New Delhi residence. On this day in 2007, Priti Patel was sworn in as India's first woman president.
Well, after a look at history, it's now time to come back to the present and look at the events that are listed for later.
Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to chair the 36th meeting of GST Council through video conferencing in New Delhi. A special 3-day celebrations of the 20th anniversary of Kargil War victory known as Operation Vijay to begin with the theme Remember, Rejoice and Renew. The Integrated Defence Headquarters under Ministry of Defence to host In-Space X, first of its kind space warfare exercise in New Delhi. The remand of fugitive diamond merchant Nirav Modi, who is wanted in India in connection with the nearly $2 billion PNB fraud and money laundering case, to end in London.
Well, prevention from vector-borne diseases is the topic of our health segment today. Let's take a look at this story.
Rain showers during summers give relief from the scorching heat, but also brings along the increased risk of health problems. The water puddles at different sites with the humid weather creates ideal breeding condition for mosquitoes.
It is time we should prepare for this. We should not let the mosquito breed in our surrounding. We should not let the mosquito breed in our household. Make the water stagnant in our surrounding, maybe sometimes in our plants, in our cooler and all that. The breeding of mosquito occurs there. You should avoid any stagnation of water in your surrounding.
Mosquito breeding increases the risk of human exposure to mosquito bite and spread of mosquito-borne diseases. It is important to take precautions to save yourself from mosquito bite.
the best way of avoiding the mosquito bite is that we should have nets in our home at the doors and the windows. We should use the mosquito nets at our bed also, so that household mosquito bite is avoided. One should use some mosquito repellent, especially the young kids and the adults going to the parks where there is probability of exposure of mosquitoes to their body. They should wear full sleeves clothes and full pants, so that their exposed part is minimum, and on that some oil type preparations which repellent the mosquitoes, they can be applied.
It is essential to take steps for preventing mosquito breeding in and around the house. Taking precautions will keep you protected from mosquito-borne diseases. Kiran Bhardwaj, DD News.
Well, community participation, a very important tool in the prevention of vector-borne diseases. So you take good care of your home. That's not all. Also look at the places that you stay around you to take care to prevent vector-borne diseases. Well, after that health story, it's time now to take a look at the weather in your city. Well, before we end Breakfast Show, we leave you with a positive thought to help you start your day. Enjoy the little things in life, for one day you may look back and realize they were the big things in life. Enjoy these glimpses from the streets of Casablanca, graffiti artists giving the wall a new look. Have a safe and wonderful day ahead. Take a look. Bye-bye.